Today I'm gonna be telling you 5 things that I didn't expect about marriage. This is like a little series that I'm gonna start doing on my channel. I already did 5 things that I didn't expect about having a puppy. I'll link that down below if you guys haven't seen it. But today I decided that it would be interesting to talk about the things that I have experienced in marriage that I was not expecting. Because before you get married, you don't really know exactly what it's gonna be like when you are married because you've never been married before. So I feel like there has been a lot of things that I've been like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. The first thing I didn't expect was how easy it is. And this might sound kind of weird, but I promise it's not weird because pretty much me and Marcus's entire relationship, a lot of you guys already know, it was long distance. We did long distance for over 2.5 years, and we had only dated in the same city for like 4 or 5 months when Marcus left to California. So pretty much our entire relationship, getting to know each other, spending time with each other, was all long distance. And I think that the #1 thing that people were nervous about was how we would do when we were actually living together, since we had never really lived for a while in the same city. So a lot of people before we got married were like, you need to move to the same city before y'all are actually married because it's gonna be way different than when you just go and visit him for a week and then come back and see him like every other month. We really knew that we were gonna get married and we didn't want to wait, and I didn't want to move to LA before being married. I feel like our everyday lives are like a super easy flow and like a good rhythm. Like we never really argue about being together too much. Like I know some couples like can get sick of each other, but we're never really sick of each other, and I just feel like he can do his thing, I can do my thing, and it's never really an issue. So I'm really glad that we kind of like trusted ourselves and we trust our relationship. And definitely, don't get me wrong, marriage is not, I'm not saying marriage in general is easy. You definitely have to work for your marriage and you have to put a lot of effort into it, but I'm just saying like day-to-day life with Marcus is not hard for us. You know what I'm saying? Okay, #2 on my list is how much of a nurturer I am. So before Marcus, I obviously had never lived with a boy before. In high school and all my childhood, I lived with my parents, and then in college, I had roommates for 4 years. And I just always thought of myself as someone that wasn't like a really like nurturing person. Like I love being with people and hanging out with people, but I didn't think of myself as someone that was like always wanting to take care of everybody. Like I know a lot of girls that are like the mom of the group, like they're always just taking care of everyone and making sure everyone's okay, and I never really felt like that. So it was interesting because once I got married, I really feel like my nurturingness really came out. Like I always want Marcus to have like a nice meal, and I always like to keep the house really clean. Like when I lived in a house with my roommates, I didn't really like, it didn't really bother me if the house was messy. It just kind of bothered me if my own room was messy. So before I got married, I was like, I wonder if I'm really gonna care if my house is dirty or if I'm gonna be like always cleaning. And definitely the latter is true. I'm always cleaning, always cooking. I feel like I'm always doing stuff around the house. So, and I really like doing that stuff. So I feel like that is another thing that I didn't really expect about marriage, or I didn't really expect about myself, and marriage has really brought it out in me. The third thing I didn't expect is how special it is to wake up and go to sleep with your husband or your wife, but in my case, my husband. Oh my gosh, morning times and night times are my favorite. Like waking up in the morning and just like having someone next to me is my favorite thing in the whole world. And now when Marcus is like out and he's not at home at night and I'm trying to fall asleep, I find it so hard to fall asleep without him. Having him there next to me in the mornings and night times has really become my favorite thing ever. And especially night times, it just feels like a slumber party, just like sleeping next to your best friend. And we've just been rewatching The Office, and it's just so fun. Like I really look forward to night times and mornings. Usually during the day, we're both super busy and like doing different things, but I know in the mornings and night times, I just like cherish that time that we can spend together. The next thing is the only negative on my list, and it's not having to do with Marcus really, but the fourth thing that I didn't expect is how judgmental strangers can be about me being married. There's just been so many times where people have seen my wedding ring and then they're like, oh my gosh, how old are you? And then I tell them and they're like, oh my gosh, you got married so young, blah blah. But it's almost never like, oh my gosh, wow, you're married. It's always like they're like shook by it, like they're really surprised that I'm married. I was checking out at TJ Maxx and this guy was talking to me, the cashier. It's almost always guys that are like the most rude about it. And he saw my wedding ring and he was like, oh, are you married? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, how old are you? And I told him I was 21 because it was a few weeks ago. And he was just like, why would you get married so young? Like, he was so like, why would you get married so young? And I was like, oh, well, we had been dating for a while and like when you know they're the one, they're the one. And he was just like, but like you can't go and party and like, are you sure like he's the one for you? Like you never want to like date other people ever again? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to date anybody else and I don't really go clubbing really, so it's not a problem for me. And I don't know, he was just like, oh wow, he was just like judging me so hard. And I just think that's so weird and I don't think people should ever be like that. Like if you're married young, you just want to spend the most life that you can with that person that you love. Yeah, that's probably one thing I didn't really expect, but I guess I more expected it to happen from people that I knew, but no one that I knew ever acted like that. And I don't know, it's just weird that it happens with strangers. And the last thing that I didn't expect about marriage is kind of hard to explain, but I wrote down the spiritual bond that marriage creates and gives you and your husband, because it's really hard to explain, but ever since me and Marcus got married, I just feel like such a deep spiritual and emotional connection to him that even as close as we are when we were dating, it wasn't even anywhere near the amount of just like respect and consideration that we give each other now. People had told me that too before, but I was like, oh, I don't really know what they mean. But it's really true. It's so weird. Like sometimes I just feel like me and Marcus can read each other's mind. It's very strange, and then we'll just be like, whoa, how are we on like such the same wavelength all the time? We've been married for almost 6 months now. I feel like I can read his emotions way better now, and I just like understand more of the reasons behind his actions. I remember when we were not married, I would always be like, I don't understand why Marcus did that, all right? Like sometimes he would just confuse me, and now I never really feel confused because I just like know his thought process better. And that might just be from all the time that we spend together, but I really feel like it's a deeper thing than that. And I'm sure if Marcus was here, he would say the same thing, because it's really true. Like when you're married, you just know like that person is your person and they're your #1 person in the whole world, and you have to just love them the most. But those are 5 things that I didn't expect about marriage. Overall, I would say marriage is everything I expected and more. And the more is like things that I didn't expect but are still good things. Mostly. And if you do like these types of videos, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you very soon. Bye!